She knew what she was doing. She booked the first class because she knew her husband. Well, I don't know because he said that he flew first class. She flew on coach, right?
Say New York to L.A.
Yes.
And both of you walk on the jet, and there was only one first class seat, and somebody had to go to coach, somebody had to sit in first.
Okay.
How would you arrange that?
Are you asking me that?
Yeah.
Brother, if I was on a desert island and it wasn't nothing but a box of peanuts.
No, I didn't ask you.
Do you
that.
think
I
I'm
asked
giving
you
her a
about
whole
the
box of
first class
peanuts?
seat. You would go first class
I would
and
go
put your
first
wife in
class.
coach.
Yeah, she don't mind sitting coach. I do. I can't sit up there like sardines.
It's not whether she minds. It's inappropriate for a man to sit in first class and put his wife in
I
the
have
back.
claustrophobia.
That's not how Christ loved the church, man. That's not exemplifying Christ's love.
I don't. How you
The
say?
bride goes first. The woman goes first. You gotta love her.
No, the man was created first. So that gives you a clue right there.
No, she should help me.
Right. So I'm gonna help her.
partner.
I'm gonna help her to coach. Do you mind if you want to coach, babe?
If my husband's flying with me, we fly first class. But there are times when I buy the ticket. I'm the church administrator.
But if you both walk on the plane, do you feel like old school, like I'm gonna let him take it? He's the pastor, he's the bishop, he goes up.
If
What I'm saying is how
we bought that
your
ticket,
mindset. There's nothing. Well, first of all, let me say, there's no judgment here. Forget that. Forget them.
No.
There's no judgment.
No,
It's how you judge it. You judge it. Y'all can judge. I'm not judging.
They saying they can't hear.
So I look.
Shame, insult, guilt.
The woman made that word like she said it was inappropriate. Now she's doing too much. Look, buddy, you should have said, "Baby, hold on. Let these men have this conversation." The women shouldn't even interfered in the game plan. Now that ain't cool. It should have been the men having that conversation with that man. Them ladies, y'all stand down. Now, if his wife say something, y'all say something to his wife. But this is a man talk. Let us men talk. Yeah, that ain't cool. And said it was inappropriate. What do you mean it's inappropriate? No, it's not inappropriate. It may not be a chivalrous, but it ain't inappropriate, man. Come on, man.
You see, Hank, actually what you pointed to earlier about, and just staying on topic about the duty of a man. How can I protect my family if we're in two separate zones, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't even want no man to be beside our woman or our children in public, much less on a plane. I might be comfortable, but I was thinking about this question as everybody was giving their answer. Really and truly, how am I fulfilling my duty as a man? And I got my feet kicked up in first class, and some other people are around my kids. And yeah, okay, it might be cramped in coach. I don't want my children looking around for daddy, and daddy's in a whole nother class, kicking his feet up. Mom is sitting there trying to get to daddy. Can you send my husband a message? No. The duty of a man in this regard to his family is to make sure his family's protected. Non-negotiable.
All right.
So what? So he puts the family in first class. So it's still
no. Hank gave the answer, and it is correct. I mean, for me, anyways. I can't speak for everybody, but it's correct for me. I'm not leaving my family in coach to go sit just because I'm 6'3". Great. My family is my responsibility. My wife is my responsibility. My kids are my responsibility, not the flight attendant and not anybody else sitting to the right or the left of her. So, hey, yeah, take my seat in first class. Give me your seat. Respectfully, so give me your seat. That's my family. What up?
You gonna get somebody a $10,000 seat?
And this is where I'm gonna tell the truth, like you just did a minute ago. I ain't know nothing about first class in the first place, so let somebody else have it. My family's my family. That's my family. That's what I know about. I don't know nothing about no first class. And if it's gonna come around, it's gonna come around again.
It ain't even that power.
$10,000 first class ticket is gonna be an amazing experience if you never had it before.
Yeah, well, my wife is my wife, and my children are my children.
You a curtain wave, Vince.
If you don't call whatever airline that is and say, hey, look, I'd like to trade, get my flight credits back and give me a coach seat. Like I'm not giving nobody no $10,000 seat, man. I'm gonna get my
late for that if you getting on the plane.
We'll be taking another flight.
What are you talking about? A $10,000 seat?
Remember, he never been in first class.
You do know this is all Googleable, right? Like you can actually Google how much first class flights cost, right?
Have you ever sat in first class? Google
Why do I
my
have to sit
butt.
in first class to know how much it costs?
I've been in first
Well, it's
class. You can't tell me nothing
$10,000
about
for no
that.
Why would I have
first
to sit?
class. JR,
You're
they said
right.
they did say they was going to Hawaii. Ain't that what they said they was going to Hawaii?
Yeah, no,
Or was that just a scenario he used talking about the peanuts?
No, they did say Hawaii, but if you flying anywhere that you going over the water, yeah, no, you gonna spend a couple thousand on first class.
Yeah, but a couple towels is different from 10 though. Fizz. That's a.
Well, I was
that's a
looking at the
nice
ones
piece of difference.
to Japan. So
Yeah, that might be a difference. Let's get Marcus White in there. Go ahead, Marcus. What are your thoughts about it, sir?
I think it's a hard argument because I believe in servant leadership, right? So, like, I think that's what they was trying to push him on. Christ would have led from the back. He would have sacrificed himself for others. But there are instances where I don't make the correlation between this is necessary for me to take a step back in order for my family to be in a better position. Because some stuff, it just don't seem to plan out like that. Like when he gave that example of the peanuts in the desert, I 100% would have gave all the peanuts to my wife and kids. Now, in the example of putting your mask on a plane, I'm gonna have to put my mask on to save everybody. So it kind of flips depending on the scenario. So it I get where they were going with shaming him, and then his reason was like he claustrophobic and all this other stuff. That was some trash ass answers. I'm gonna keep it a big. So I get why they were judging him. And I think they probably knew something more about him in that scenario than we do. By the way they was asking him questions and his responses would let me know that I don't believe he's operating in that instance from a place of servant leadership. So yeah, I think the more you ask him, the more that shit unveil and become clear.
But Marcus, why would you put on your mask first, but not give but give the peanuts away in the desert? Don't you need the strength that you'll get from those peanuts so you can save your family from that desert?
Well, so I'm on my cost benefit analysis. The mask would allow me to save all 4 of them. In the desert, if we die, like say we are a day away from death, I'd rather be the first one to starve to death than them to starve to death. So that's why I added it like that.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Even though
I try and do a cost benefit in everything, even these phony scenarios.
Hey, Wizzle, they ain't know nothing. They were just being sassy and messy. You know, it was Sunday in the church house, so that's all they were doing.
I'll be honest with you. If you gone,
No revelation.
everybody gone. Everybody gone.
All right, go ahead, Trev. You about to say something, Hank?
Yeah, what I looked up on the Hawaii trip is a little bit less than $2,000 for a first class.
I looked it up. Yeah, I seen it.
Do like Dubai or Tokyo. First class,
like 10,000.
Yeah, you're gonna spend a couple thousand for sure.
All right, go ahead, Trey.
So, like, I'm with Marcus as far as like the dude trying to say he was claustrophobic or whatever. I done sat next to 350 pounders. I done sat next to people who was damn near 7 feet, cramped up, and regular coach, no problem, right? So yeah, I think he sounded really entitled in that instance, right? Like, what are you trying to say? So you saying you above that? And I dig people have preferences, but he's saying like he just can't do it. And I'm not really buying that at all. I think that was garbage what he was talking about. And I don't even see a big deal about it, right? Like if you're trying to be on some cheapskate, it don't even matter. Like when I was really doing that, I don't do that anymore. But when I was really cheapskating, man, I'm picking 2 random seats. If it's a deal on it, we ain't got to sit together. When I go in on a plane, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go to hell asleep anyway. I don't care about none of that. I'm going to hell asleep the whole time. If they wake me up to give me a beverage or something, that's cool. But other than that, I don't care. I could be in first, be in the back of the back. It don't even matter. Does not matter at all. I'm just gonna go to sleep. I'm not gonna talk to no. We get to destination. We're gonna be together the whole damn time. If we jump plane, we probably be there for a minute. So it doesn't even matter. Like they're making a deal out. Like forget it. If we split, we split. If I had to make a choice, yeah, I'm gonna throw homegirl in the front. Go ahead and relax. I'm gonna be back here asleep. Whatever. It don't matter. Like I don't really care about separating. I don't see just for a plane ride. I don't even care if the plane ride is long. It doesn't matter. Like for them to really make a big deal out of that was crazy to me because it's just a plane ride. And I understand the whole protection thing, but sometimes you're away. Sometimes I fly by myself. Sometimes my family might fly by themselves. You can't protect them all the time, right? You give them the tools that they need to be safe, but you can't be around them 24/7. So it's not like, oh, I have to protect you while we're on this plane. I mean, come on, what are we doing? Like we're not around each other 24/7 anyway. It's really not that deep to me, and I don't see why they made a big deal out of it. It really sounds crazy for homeboy to be going like that. And as far as them shaming him and talking about bringing God into it and everything, I think that was a little bit over the top. I don't think all that was necessary either. Like he feel the way he feel, but I mean to question his leadership and everything was kind of wild. I think it's not the best decision to make, but I wouldn't question his integrity or how he is with Christ and all. I think they was doing a little too much. They was going overboard. It wasn't that deep to me. I'm like, damn, it's really not that serious. And I think sometimes we just got to look at things for what they are and stop trying to inflate them to something that they're not. Like we merely make mountain hills out of a, you know what I mean? Like
out of Mountain Hill.
A mountain out of a molehill. Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Trail. If you are supposed to be a reflection of Christ, do you feel that him doing that is Christ-like?
Doing what? No, well, Christ was full of humility. So, yeah, like that was one of the main attributes that we all know him for, was being humble. So, like if that was Christ, what would he have done? He would have if he had a wife, he would have put her in the front, boom, and he would have sat there in the back, humble as hell. Probably knocked out like me. You know what I mean? Just chilling.
So that's probably why they came at his religion. Because he a pastor, right, Rilla?
Yeah. I mean, but do you feel like, okay, so what are we saying now? That we have to, for you to be a pastor, do you have to do everything that Christ would do? Or are we allowed to be imperfect? Are we allowed to fall short sometimes, right? If you believe in that, then you would say Jesus died for your sins. So you're not expected to be perfect. There is a certain way you're supposed to move, but it's not for something that simple. It's not like he was out fornicating or nothing crazy. He just went and like, oh, I want this seat, right? And that I think is corny, but it's not that deep to where it's like, okay, well, he's sacrilegious now. Like, come on, what are we doing?
But why is it corny?
Why is it corny?
Yeah.
Because for me, when it comes to my family, my wife, I sacrifice comfort for them. That's part of what I do as a man, right? It's almost like chivalry, just like you open up a door or whatever else. If we're not talking about some random dame, we're talking about your wife, right? So yeah, your wife will get that. You put her in the first class seat while you just tough it up because you're a man and you can take that. That's you expect it to take the brunt of suffering. That's just what it is. That's what we do as men. We take the brunt of suffering so our family doesn't have to.
So let's say for the sake of argument that everything he said is true. He's claustrophobic. He got bad knees, got a bad back. They're going on a trip to Chicago so he can preach the word of God at somebody's church. And he puts his wife in first class to sacrifice his comfort. And now he's bedridden for the entire trip once he get there because his back hurt.
That he need to change his diet because if a plane ride is going to wreck you to the point where you can't preach, then you need to call on God for strength.
Well, we've known that y'all know like
it is like a 13-hour flight too.
Marcus Marcus, you play ball. You know guys that got bad knees, and if they sit in a certain kind of way with his knees a certain kind of way, that man can't walk when he get up.
Yeah. I think them using Hawaii. I think them using Hawaii is a good reference because it is an extremely long flight. So it is easily like 13 hours. So somebody being put, especially an older gentleman as the guy, him being put in an uncomfortable position for that long, that may, you know what I'm saying, cause for him to be in a bad predicament once he gets off the plane. So Yeah, I get what he's saying. I'm not opposed to what he's saying, especially if he's a bishop. Typically in those type of positions, they want to be and have the luxury because they put in the work for it. Me personally, we've flown first class quite a few times. I really don't have an issue with it. If I'm just sitting in coach and she want to sit in first class, then go ahead. But I think in that position of this man being a bishop, I could see why he's responding the way he's responding.
So Sweeney, he didn't never say anything about medical reasons. He said he didn't want to be squished like sardines. If that were the scenario at hand, then I would have addressed it in that manner. But that's not what he said.
He said he was claustrophobic.
That's not. That wasn't.
He said he was claustrophobic.
Yeah,
he said he got bad knees or something.
Come on, man. Come on, man.
I think he said
he didn't want to be squished like sardines.
He said that. Yeah, he did say that too. I thought I could have sworn I heard him say. I know he said claustrophobic. And I could have sworn he said something along the lines.
If you're claustrophobic, you ain't got no business on the plane at all.
That's a fact. The more I think about this, Jesus 100% would have sat in the coach. I don't think he would have accepted the first class flight under any circumstance.
Yeah, but there would have been also people willing to carry him too. If Jesus had bad knees and he sat in coach for everybody, they'd have carried his ass everywhere he needed to go.
Wait, Marcus, what do you base that on? I don't want to turn this into no scripture Bible study, but what do you base that on?
I'm thinking about the humility of dropping to your feet and washing the feet of a prostitute. I'm thinking about making sure everybody else eats before you eat. I'm thinking about going into church and turning off all of the money changers. For him, the people he chose to be around were not the most elite people. He was consciously choosing to not be the elitist.
I gotta look for the scripture. You know, there's a scripture that talks about when he died on the cross, there were thieves like shooting traps for his clothes. Right, and that the clothes that he had, it was made with like one single thread. Like in other words, what he had on was expensive, right? Or that when he rode into town during Passover, he rode on a donkey that had never been touched, or something to that effect, right? It's almost like riding a drop top Bentley in there. So I'm just trying to piece it together when we say what he would have or would not have done. I'm literally just fleshing it out myself.
I have to look at that. The
top Bentley.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey, Jesus was swinging. He was swinging.
We got the transition shortly, man. Who else haven't spoken yet? Want to say something?
Hey, that's the realest shit I ever heard.
Anybody else want to add anything to it? Are we good?
Well, let me throw this out here. You know, it's a philosophical debate. You know, this is really similar to the 50-50 argument. You know, some people are with it and they make a good point for it. Some people are not with it and they make a good point for it as well. My philosophy is leaders lead from the front. But the captain also gets the big tent. And like Sweeney said, for mission critical purposes, should men still remain chivalrous? Probably not, because that may jeopardize the mission. You know, in filmmaking, the movie crew eats first. You know, when you break for lunch and after you get to go on, the movie crew eats first. Why do we let the movie crew eat first? Not why don't we let the lead actress or the lead or the director, you know, because they're pampered throughout the entire process. But that camera operator, that grip and electric department, those people that's behind the camera, that's making things happen, that's holding lights and holding heavy equipment just so you can get the right shot, sweating, putting themselves at danger. You want to feed them first. You want them to feel good. So after lunch, they come back and give you that same kind of energy. And the producer, sometimes he gets the scraps after everybody then ravaged the lunch. In the Army, soldiers eat first. It's one thing they teach you in primary leadership and development class. You know, let your soldiers eat first. Why do we let the soldiers eat first? Shouldn't captain or sergeant eat first sergeant? No, because your soldiers are the ones that's taking fire. They the ones that's they the ones out there on the battlefield. You might be in the back calling shots. So if you guys are gonna have to take a break, you got to go to chow. Let the soldiers eat first. And, but it's also important to remember, and this is why it's kind of like I go back and forth. It's almost like a ping pong. It's important that the person who the mission depends on is the most comfortable. And my problem with men in relationships today is, just like women, where we say, women got that boss mentality at work, and she comes home and she can't turn it off. She comes home, she wants to be a boss at home, and that's becoming a big problem in relationships, because husbands is like, I didn't marry a boss, I married you. You could be a boss at work, but don't bring that shit home. Well, men oftentimes don't know how to turn off that shit either. And we as men need to stop doing this as men. I heard Trev say, I sacrifice comfort for them. The duty of a man in a relationship, of the 4 things that I always say, 2 of them is provide and protect. And if you guys think about the movie Troy, I don't know if you guys ever watched this movie Troy with Brad Pitt.
Dope ass movie.
Dope movie. In the opening scene, you remember he was chilling in the tent with the 2 chicks sleep while they was getting ready to battle. And why would Achilles get the big tent and the women? Is because just him, one man, can win an entire battle. And even though, Agamemnon, I forget how to pronounce the guy's name, was upset with that, they had to make sure that Achilles was comfortable in first class with the big tent and the women with the big titties sleeping while everybody is out on the battlefield, because with one strike of Achilles' sword, he saved thousands of lives and the battle is over. And so, men, if you are the Achilles in your relationships, I understand that you want to sacrifice your comfort for everybody else, because that's what we do. Baby, you take it. But if you give your comfort level to somebody else, that's totally fine. It's a philosophical debate. You can do what you want, what works for you. But this is what I want men to understand. Make sure that comfort level is offered to you and that it's not taken for granted, because far too often people get in these relationships and they think that they are owed the comfort and they're not even valuable or mission critical. But because men are so used to giving that comfort to somebody else, like their wives, girlfriends, children, it gets to the point where everybody gets real comfortable in that situation, and then they take it for granted and they think that they are owed that, when it's you, gentlemen, that are actually the ones that matter. So if you give your comfort away to somebody else, fine. Make sure that you are giving it. Make sure that they realize that you're being benevolent to them, and make sure that comfort level was offered to you at least, so they could recognize how important you are.
What's tripped out, Shannon? So this actually happened to me about 10 years ago, right? I had took a trip to Michigan to go see my family. My sister stayed there, and I was the driver. You know what I mean? Like, I had to drive the entire trip. I was the driver while we were in the city. Sister didn't have no car, so I was giving her a ride places. Well, I was in the front seat. My wife was in the passenger seat, and my sister sat behind me. And she got mad because I had to recline my chair to be able to be comfortable in the driver's seat. And her and my wife got into a big ass blowout because she felt like her comfort mattered more than mine. And my wife was trying to get her to understand, like, he's driving. You don't want to drive. I don't want to drive. The kids don't want to drive. He's driving, and you're telling him he has to be uncomfortable driving, even though all our lives are in his hands. Say, for instance, his leg doesn't get off the brake fast enough because he's too scrunched up or something like that. He can't hit the brakes. We all crash and die because you want to be comfortable in the back seat.
To the people in the chat,
I'm 100%. I'm 100% with you on that. Like, if we doing a trip, first off, whoever driving, they seat gonna be wherever the hell it's at. Whoever behind me just gonna be squished. I'm sorry, and they play my radio, and it's gonna be the temperature that I'm comfortable with. Just because, like you said, in that particular instance, the person who's driving needs to be comfortable, right? You got everybody lives in their hands. You need to make sure you get them safe to that destination. So Yeah, I'm 100% with you on that.
Yeah, like my pops, he used to drive. He used to be cold as shit in the car. Like he used to ride with the windows down or with the AC blowing. But that's because when we taking 9, 10, 11, 12-hour trips, he had to be up and alert. And the only way he can stay up is if it was cold in the car. So he was like, all of us had to get blankets or extra jackets and stuff like that so that he can be able to drive and get us all there safely. And I kind of adopted the same thing because that's how I stay up. You give me some cold air, some sunflower seeds, and a 5-hour energy shot and some Gatorade, and I'm straight. I could drive for 20 hours.
We're gonna finish up with Marcus. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I didn't go into the detail, but Shannon, I 100% agree with you about it not being taken for granted. Because while I was running through the scenario, like I'm big, so I might not fit in the seats, but I would ultimately try and fit in the seat. But my wife would push me to take the seat because I'm so big and it would be that uncomfortable. I would refuse, and then only would it feel acceptable when she get to the point where it's making her feel bad that I'm sitting back there with her. Is the only way I could really see it going that way. And I don't know why I grazed over that point. You spot on with you don't want people to take it for granted. So, like you spot on. And to somebody in the chat was saying I was wrong about what Jesus would have done. So if you look up Luke 7 through 15, Luke 14, 7 through 15, they literally describe him saying, don't take the honorary seat. Him saying to take the seat in the back. So look it up and then tell me I'm wrong. I'm not talking to you, real. I'm talking to the chat.